Hey, what's up everybody? Dominic with Flat Bill Works here. Welcome to another video. I'm not exactly sure how to do this, and I don't like talking a lot, so I'm probably gonna appear and disappear frequently throughout this video. So I just added some mold release to the mold here. That's imperative that you use a bunch of that. If you don't, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to get your table out of the mold. Now I'm just adding the two slabs of walnut into the mold. Pretty soon here I'm gonna be clamping it down, because believe it or not, the epoxy is actually more dense than the wood, and the wood, if you don't clamp it down, the wood will actually float. So that's what I'm doing here. And figuring out how to do this took me a little while. So I figured out that if you clamp one of the clamps to your pouring table, that it makes doing the two clamps and evenly really easy. So that's kind of what you see me doing there in four times speed. You can never have too many clamps as a woodworker. It's they're good things to have for sure. So here we're just gonna, here what we're doing is pouring the epoxy. This particular project, I wanted to get a little trick, and it came out pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. And you guys will see at the end of the video, I was going for black, and I kind of wanted to have kind of an oil slick vibe to it. So I added some colors, and I think the colors are real subtle, and you'll see at the end, but I think I achieved it. I think I achieved kind of an oil slick look to it. So this particular project took quite a bit of epoxy. It was right around 6 gallons or so. Very little waste. I mean, you're always going to have quite a bit of waste during the milling process, which that I'm going to take you through also. Popping the bubbles, always fun. Them bubbles is dead. I popped them. Now we're just gonna add some clear, a little clear bluish. I think a lot of this stuff ended up at the bottom portion of the bar top, which is fine by me. I just was trying to level it out. I kind of figured it was going to all sink, and if some came through and kind of cured with the rest of the table, that a little streak of blue here or there would be kind of cool. Unfortunately, I think it all sank. So we're going to mix it all up, have some fun. This is pretty useless doing it though, because all the bubbles kind of pop on them on their own anyway, but it is a lot of fun to pop bubbles with a torch. So after we get this bad boy kind of mixed in and that sort of thing, we'll break out that bad old torch and do some more bubble assassination, if you will. Yeah, I'm not done having fun with this stick. That's what she said. There we go. Pippity pop pop. You don't stop. I'm a nerd. I love the definition of my camera. Like, being able to see the reflection is pretty neat. I had a little fun with it right here. It worked. Kind of a neat effect. I'm kind of new to videography. I went to school for photography and I actually know a lot about photography. Videography, on the other hand, is a whole new game for me. And learning about codecs and all the fun things with videography has been it's been a challenge, but it's been super exciting at the same time. So I needed to add a little more epoxy. I decided to go a little crazy with some pigments and some colors. And this is actually kind of how I achieved the oil slick look that you're going to see here at the end of the video. And I think this one, yeah, I ended up adding way too much pigment, and it wasn't mixing very well, so I switched it over. Some black and then some clear with some black sparkly pigment, because I mean, vampires, they have pigment. So now we're gonna add them. This is a couple days into the process. The epoxy there is still real gummy because I wanted this epoxy to adhere to that epoxy. And if you wait too long, you risk kind of the two layers kind of separating. So I wanted to make sure I at least brought that level up. You can kind of see the lip that I have on the wood. I wanted to bring that up because epoxy, like, you'll pour it and it'll go to the top and you'll be like, hey, I've got it perfect, this is awesome. And then the next day it'll shrink a little bit. And then the next day it shrinks even a little bit more. And I try and keep my pours as cold as possible for the first 2 days. And then after the 72-hour mark, I'll actually crank up the heat in my shop just to kind of, I don't know if it actually does anything or not, but I like to think that it kind of helps the curing process along. But those first 2 days, I try and keep it pretty cold. There I'm adding some blue, mixing it in with the black and the sparkly black. And you can kind of see it looking like an oil slick now. But I did, well, I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it kind of looks like an oil slick. So this is how my tables come out of my molds. It's super easy. It takes almost no time. And I think it's because I probably overdo it with the mold release. The first couple projects I did with this epoxy, I didn't use enough mold release and I hated it. Like, trying to get this melamine off of there, off of the epoxy projects, it's just a pain in the butt. And like, when I first started, like, it would enrage me. And I hated it, but now I've got it down to where a few taps of the hammer and my molds just come right off. My pour station's extremely flat. I use a Starrett machinist level. Oh, hello, cartoon me.
Good job, buddy.
I use a Starrett machinist level to level my pour station. That way I don't get crazy, wonky, lopsided pours. They're all nice and flat. I don't outsource my surfacing on my tables either. Meaning I do all that in shop. There's all that lovely pigment at the bottom there. So this is my router sled, like I mentioned. I don't outsource the surfacing of my tables. This is kind of a spendy jig. It comes from woodpeckers. I hook it up right to my industrial shop back there, and it still creates a mess, but it's not nearly as bad as if you don't have it hooked up to a vacuum. We got a 2¼ horsepower DeWalt router plugged into that bad boy. I actually already did, but because of this long project, this finished project was 104 inches. I redid my surfacing table. You'll see that in my future videos. And here I am just kind of clamping the table down to my surfacing table so that it doesn't move around while I'm getting violent with it with that router and the surfacing bit. Yeah, that ain't going nowhere. So we'll speed through putting the rest of those clamps on. I thought about clipping that out. Oh, hello cartoon me again. That's fancy. Shaka bra. All right. It's important to wear a mask during this process. This stuff gets everywhere, even with the vacuum. You don't want to put that in your lungs. So if you're thinking about doing these tables, care about your lungs. Get yourself a mask. I actually even got a more aggressive mask. You'll see it coming in the next couple few videos. So this portion of the process is probably the most violent. It's probably one of the most fun parts too. Because you're scraping off all your seal epoxy, and now you get to see the beauty of the wood again. I try and clean as I go, as you can see me doing here. I used to not do that, and the mess at the end was huge, and it used to get everywhere. I found that if you clean as you go, at the end of the process, it's a stomachable amount of cleaning. But most of woodworking is sanding and vacuuming. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. You vacuum, or you make sawdust, and then you vacuum it up. So I learned something with this particular project, and that's why I had to make a longer table, so that I don't have to move my slabs. With my new table, I won't have to move my slab, and I won't have to do as much sanding, basically. Now I do have a ginormous table in my shop now, but surfacing out some of these bigger dips, I mean, here I'm making real quick work of it, but this is probably 2 to 3 hours of sanding, just making it nice and perfectly flat. That's the Festool Rotex 40 grit. And then from 40 you go to 60, from 60 you go to 80, 80 you go to 120, and then you finish out at 180. And I water pop between every single one, which requires some patience, but the finished project, it's worth water popping every time. Vacuum it, blow it off, water pop it, sanding, more sanding. But I don't mind it. I throw on an audiobook or my favorite Dirty Heads album, and I just go to town. There it is, water popped. Kind of time lapse, kind of neat, watching it dry. More sanding. But look at that wood. The wood is so gorgeous. Tons of movement in these slabs. Blow it off, water pop it, cartoon it. I think that's really cool. Maybe it's cheesy. One of my kids thinks it's cool. One of my kids thinks it's super cheesy. You guys let me know. Is it cheesy or is it kind of cool? So I'm to the point where I want to shape it, and this particular client really likes the round over. So we we did a nice round over for him. Okay, so here's that process. Whoa, that's fun. Shaping the projects is always one of my favorite portions of these tables, is kind of giving them the profiles, and it's a lot. It's rewarding. I mean, all of it's rewarding. I love doing it. I kind of gave up throwing darts to do this, and I find myself doing this and having more fun, and it's more rewarding than darts ever was for me. My body's sore at the end because it is a lot of movement, a lot of sanding, that sort of thing. I'm not nearly as hungover because I'm not at the bar playing darts all the time. So I really love that. We're gonna speed the rest of this up. No, put your tongue away. We're gonna speed the rest of this up because while routing is extremely fun, I don't know how much fun it is to watch. If you guys wanna see slower routing in the future, let me know in the comments and maybe I can do more routing type stuff. But this particular slab is going on a bar, and it's going to be kind of in a wetter climate. And I decided not to take the epoxy off the bottom portion. I'm mildly worried about it cupping. I don't think it's going to cup, but what it will do is it's completely sealed. There's absolutely no way for moisture to come in from the bottom side of this slab at all. So I decided not to take the epoxy off. I'm gonna keep an eye on it and make sure that the owners of this let me know whether it's cupping or not, because it'd be pretty easy to take it off and bring it back here, take the epoxy off the underside and finish it out. But I don't know, I guess we'll see. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, you gotta seal both sides. I figured, what the hell, that side's sealed. I mean, this sealant, it's more sealed than it would be with the Rubio that I use to seal the top. It's just not nearly as pretty. So we're gonna go ahead and profile the rest of this and see where we're at. I'm probably gonna disappear if I haven't already. All right, that is looking nice. I didn't want to bore you guys with sanding the edges of this particular top, or really any top. You'll probably not see too much sanding, and if you do, it's going to be at least 8 times faster than what it takes. And then I didn't video the first coat of the Rubio. So this is actually showing me scuffing up with a brown pad to scuff up the first layer after, I think it was a week after I did that layer of Rubio. I came back through with this to scuff it up so that we can apply the second layer. And my pad kept trying to get away from me, but we got through it. So you want to do this if you're going to do 2 layers, because if you try and just do a layer on top of the first layer without scuffing it up, it won't stick. You're just throwing away your money and your time and your effort. You won't get any higher sheen, but if you scuff it up, you're going to get a little bit higher sheen, and then the added protection of 2 layers, or excuse me, 2 coats of the Rubio monocoat with hardener. I'm not sure why this section of the video ended up shorter or like shrunk down than the rest of the video. And I'll be curious to see if that's in the final version of this video. I don't know. I'm still learning the video editing portion of this. Here I'm buffing in the finish, the second coat of the Rubio. And you can already see that it looks better than it did before. And I'm just using one of my Festool sanders with the it's kind of a foamy thing. Maybe one day I'll get a buffer. I don't know at this point. I think that works just fine. And then I always like finishing it off by hand anyway. So yeah, get some clean lint-free cloths or as lint-free rags as I can find without breaking the bank. Just making sure that all that Rubio is good and massaged in. I go pretty hard on this section, make sure that there's nothing left over. And this is sped up like 8 times. I think I slow it down. Yep, there it is. I kind of slow it down for the last little bit. And my little oil slick, it's real subtle. I think it really came out really neat. The owners of this bar top really liked it as well. But yeah, that's my process. Let me know if you want to see one that's slower than this one. And if you do, I'll make one that's slower. But thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Flapple works, baby. Ooh, enjoy this slow-mo. My slow-mos will get better also. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. Oh, there's the oil slick. Thanks again, everybody. Peace.